wonderful friends, it's Shelley. Thank you so much for clicking on this tutorial. We are going to make this cute little snowman. Actually, he's not very little. He stands 12 inches tall, so it's a nice size. I used my 48 needle Centro, but you can use your 46 needle Addy. I also used my 22 needle Addy, so you're going to need both sizes. The yarn is Bernat Premium in white and black, but the navy yarn there, I have no idea what it is. I found a ball in my yarn drawer and it had no label on it. So if you know what it is, put it in the comments below because I'd love to know what it is. But you can use the yarn of your choice for this, and you're going to love making it. And they're so cute when they're done. So once you have your supplies, please join me and let's get going. But before you do so, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. You know it means a lot to me when you do so. Okay, my friends, let's get going. Okay, so if you're ready to begin, you're gonna get your black yarn. We're gonna start with our boots, and I'm going to put my last pink and my first white in line with my yarn feeder. Now, technically, this is the last needle on the numbers, if you can squint really hard and see what those actual numbers are. But I like to use it as my first needle. So I have taken a black permanent marker and colored that divider between the last pink and the first white, and I use my white as the first, but you use whichever is your first, whichever you do. Okay, so I'm going to go behind that first white one with my black, and in front, oops, and behind and in front, we're going to cast on all the way around, just like so. Okay, and if your counter still works, this is a good time to change it to 0. Mine does not work, so I use just a handheld one. I keep saying, and I've said it for months now, that I want to get that purple one that you can get that attaches, and I'm going to do it eventually. I just keep putting it off. But I use my tally counter here, and I took the strap off because it's easier, and I just mark it every time I go around 5 times. So every 5 rows I mark it 5. Okay, and we're going to just go around. So this is 1. This is Bernat Premium yarn, so it works really well in my machine. This is 2, but I have to count and concentrate. Okay, and 3, and then I'm going to do 5. I'm going to mark it off on my tally. Then I'm going to do another 5, mark that off. So we're going to do 10 rows of black. Okay, so you go ahead, do 10 rows of black, and I'll see you back. All right, so we made the 10 rounds. We're going to cut the black, and we are going to put it between that last pink and the first white. We're going to grab our white yarn, put that in between the same 2 needles. Okay, I'm going to back that up just a smidgen there. And then we're going to take that white working yarn, we're going to put it on the other side of that pink needle, okay? And because that's how we're going to do our jogless join. We will tie it off when we have our project off the machine, and it will be like magic. You won't even see the line of the color change. So I love this jogless join, and I'll show you how we complete it again when we take it off the machine. But we've done 10 rows of black. Now we are going to knit 3 or 4 needles. So I've got to give some tension to this. I normally use my Addy, but I'm loving my Centro as well, because it just seems to knit so smooth. I just love it. But I find that these little nooks of the needle are smaller, and so it's harder to pick up the yarn. And so when I put a little bit of tension on it, it makes it easier. So when you are knitting, use a little bit more tension and you'll be less likely to drop some stitches, okay? Or tuck stitches. Okay, so I'm going to now take both ends of my working yarn, and I'm going to just give it a little tug. I didn't actually even need to this time because it knitted quite tight, which is great, but because I had some tension on there. But generally what I do is when I knit the first 4 needles, I will take both working ends, the tail and the end that's back here, and I'll pull on it and I'll straighten these first few stitches out so that my tension is even at the beginning of my row as it is around. Okay, so now we are going to begin knitting with our new color, making sure that those needles pick up the yarn. Again, I'm putting some tension on it. Okay, and we're going to knit 45 rows of white. So your counter will say 55 when you're done. Okay, so I'm going to go around for 45 rotations, and then I will see you back. Okay, all right, so I've done 12 rows, pardon me, 10 rows of black and 45 rows of white. which takes us to 55 rows total. Now we have to do the opposite, okay? So we're going to keep going. We're going to keep our white attached. We're going to do another 45 rows. So that will take us to 100. Then we're going to do a color change and do 10 rows of black. So 45 more rows white, then 10 rows black. When I get my 45 extra rows of white done, I'll come back and see you. If you need to do a color change together, we will do that. Okay, so we're at 55 right now, and we're going to go till we get to 100. Okay, so keep going. All right, so I just popped on quickly for those of you who are new. I'm at row 70 and it's starting to touch the table. So when it does that, and then you don't do something about it, then it'll start bunching up like this. And if you drop, if there's too much slack on there, you could drop a little loop off your little pink teeth and then your row will start to unravel. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna just pick it up and you're gonna roll it onto itself. Make a little donut, just like this, okay? And that prevents that problem from occurring. Makes your tension around your barrel here nice and even, and you can keep going. And every 15 or so rows, just keep rolling it up and you're good. All right, keep going. I'll see you when you get to row 100. If you need to watch another color change, then come back and see me then. If not, keep going. And at row 100, change over to your black and do 10 more rows. All right, so I'm at row 100. I cut my white yarn. I'm going to put it in between that last pink and that first white. And then I'm going to take my black yarn, pop it into that yarn feeder. They're both in between those same two needles, okay? Then I'm going to take that black and I'm going to bring it around to the other side of that pink needle for our jogless join. We're going to knit 3 or 4 needles, and you'll see how it's all loose in there. The tension's all wonky and loose in there. So you're going to take both ends of your black. You're going to help that underneath, and then you're going to just pull on it. And you see how that snugged it up and made your tension gorgeous? Okay, so we're going to just leave that in the middle there. We're going to knit 10 rows of black till your counter says 110. Then see me back and we will cast off. All right, so we've just finished our 10 rows of black. We're going to cut off our yarn tail, making sure that it goes around the barrel 1.5 to 2 times, okay? So it's long enough. Then you're going to put that into the middle, making sure it's behind this last pink needle because we still have to finish this one and this needle has to knit yet too. So it's got to make sure it's in between these 2 needles. Then we're going to thread our needle. I often get asked by people where I got these needles from. These are metal wool needles and they have a little plastic loop on the end. You can get them in Walmart, you can get them in Amazon. I've got them both places and they're just wonderful to use. And now I'm going to just put a little bit of tension on this until these last 2 needles knit. Okay, then we're going to begin removing. So when this white one pops down under, then it releases this loop for us to pick up. Okay, so we're going to pick up and pull our tail through. Pick up and pull our tail through. Got to do it one at a time until you get some slack on your project. Okay, keep rotating. If you lift up too high on this, you'll risk this one falling off these pink needles, and then you can it'll start dropping your row. So be very, very careful. And then we can now start picking them off a little bit more, holding them on your needle with your thumb. If you want to put your finger over that next needle to be sure that you don't drop it, then that's a good idea too. Okay, and we're going to just keep going. So continue going, casting off until you have all your stitches free from your machine, and then I will see you back. Oops. All right, so now the fun begins. We've got it off our machine. We're going to unroll it. I'm going to take this needle off so I don't lose it. Okay, and we're going to stretch it widthwise and length. Just like that. Get all those rows lined up and softened and beautiful. And there we have it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put it in, oh, we got to put it inside out. See, I almost forgot. We have to do the jogless join. You don't want to forget that, because if you forget that and you finish your project, then it's going to just come apart eventually. So that would be so sad. Okay, so we're going to find it up here. It's at the very top, and there's only 10 rows, so it's a little bit hard to get at, but you can see how this white row here is up on top and then it jogs down. We're going to make it jogless. So you're going to take these two. You're going to put your hand so that one finger's on above it and one is below it, just so that you can press down and hold it secure. Okay? Then you're going to pull both of these. And you see how, rewind this and watch what it does right here. It's so satisfying. As soon as it pulls together, you will feel the jolt, and then it lines it up perfectly. Okay? And then we're going to tie this, but I only tie, like I tie the knot there, but then I don't pull on it here because I don't want to tighten it any further down there. I tighten this one tighter. And if that still won't go tighter without compromising this, then I do a third one, just like that, okay? Cut it off, and then I'll show you what it looks like on the other side. There it is, right there. It's perfectly in line. Well, it doesn't look like it here because it's wait till I get the whole thing turned around and then it will. But let's go to this next one. But I just get so excited about this jogless join because I just find it's the funnest thing. I just love it. Okay, so you see how it's off-centered there? We're going to press our fingers down, pull it. You got to give it a good tug and you feel it move into place. You'll know when you know. Okay. And then we're going to tie this off. That one only needs it twice, just like that. Now, let's turn it the other way. And check it out. It's so hard to lay this flat when it's only got 10 rows above it. But look at that. You cannot, I don't even know where it is. Perfect, like absolutely perfect. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to reach in there. We're going to take our end and hold it like that and bring it through, just like this, okay? So turn it in half, just like you would a beanie. Then we're going to take this one end that's on the inside. We're going to pull on that tail to cinch, making sure that you smooth out that end all around the edge. See, because look at right now, it's all bunched up and not nice. And if you take your fingers and you smooth it out all the way around and then you pull and then you smooth it out again, making sure that it's completely flat in there, then you get a much, much nicer finish, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to make this a little bit shorter so it's easier to work with. We're going to grab our needle and we're going to just, it's hard to see on the black, I'm sorry guys. We're just going to go take that top row of stitches just like this and we're going to just reinforce it all the way around, okay? So just going around that top edge, just like this. Okay, and then pull. And then pick up the other third. You can get quite a few at once. And pull, okay? And then you're gonna tie it off in a knot. So just pick up, pick up a couple strands there and tie it off in a knot. Pull that knot down with your thumb, just like that, and you've got a perfectly closed end. Now you're going to take the other one, making sure that this tail stays out, okay, because you're going to need to grab it, and we're going to do the exact same thing for the outside layer. Just like that, smooth it out as you go. Then pull it some more, smooth it out, and then you're going to take your needle and you're going to reinforce around that outside there, and I'll see you when you're done. All right, so it's done. So now what I want to do is I want to pull up on the inside one so it comes up nice and close to the outside one. Then we're going to tie these off. Oops, let's get that needle off of there. You can cut them shorter too if you need to, but you need one longer for sewing it. So don't cut them both short. So we're going to pull that tight, being careful not to snap it because 4-weight worsted weight yarn snaps easier than you think. Okay, and there we go. We've got that all tied off. I'm going to just do one more for good measure. Then I can take one of these and get it out of the way. So I'm just going to go in between those two layers, just like that. Cut it off, and we'll leave this one to work with, okay? But what we want to do now is put our hand on the inside, and we want to smooth it out. Let's get my needles over here so I don't lose them, okay? Okay, just like that. So when we made this piece, we did it 110 rows, but in half, it's 55. We've got 10 rows for our feet, which means we've got 45 rows left here. And part of it's going to be the legs, and part of it's going to be the body, and part of it's going to be the head. So if I have 45 rows left and I want that in half, we're going to go 23 and 22, right? So 23 I would make for the body, and 22 I would make for the head. That would just give me a little bit less for the head, but I want to leave some room for the legs, so I'm going to go 25. Okay, so instead of 23, I'm going to count up 25 from the white. So starting at this first white one, just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. This is where I want my split to be, okay? And there'll be 20 left. But that will leave me room for the body and for the legs, and then the head being much the same size. If this is my 25th stitch right here, I'm going to just take half of it, the first half, then I'm going to go over that second half, pick up the next, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, pull through, following that same row all the way around. And if you have to stop and count 25 up every once in a while to make sure you're on the same row, then it's worth taking the effort to do that, okay? Attention to detail makes your project look way nicer. Sometimes it's hard to tell what that same row is. When you smooth it out nicely, how I had you do, it's lining up your rows. And so if you're smoothing it out properly, you shouldn't have to do that. But if you do, that's an easy way to figure out whether you're still on the same row, okay? All right, so we've gone around, we've matched that up, and it's beautiful. We're gonna now go to the top. I'm gonna smooth this out again, making sure that those two black pieces, one on the inside and one on the outside, are in line with each other, and you can see through to see if it is, okay? And then smooth this out again. And then you're gonna go to the very top, and we're going to pick up every other row. So I'm going to go under 2 bars, over 2 bars, under, over, under, all the way around the top of the edge there. And that's going to give us a cinch yarn to use so that we can close the top, okay? So all along the top, just like this. Weaving in and out of every row, every other row. All right, so it's perfect so far. Now, just while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to be using eyes that I sew on. So I can put those on after I've got this all closed up and stuffed and closed up. But if you are using ones that you have to put that backing on, then of course you're gonna, before you close this up, you're gonna wanna position your eyes. Okay, so that's just a reminder. But I'm gonna go ahead and start stuffing my piece. Just like so. It's a snowman, we want them fat. It's shocking how much fiber fill we use, isn't it? People don't realize how much it actually takes to make an animal or a snowman or anything that you stuff. It takes a lot. So you just keep filling it and filling it. We're gonna not just fill the body, but we're gonna go right ahead and go right up to the top, and we're gonna fill the head, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna cinch that body and the head off once we get the stuffing in there. So now if I was to take this and go, it's gonna look more like a snowman, and then we're going to sew up the legs here, and it'll be perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna just keep playing with this until I can get it into like a even piece, okay? When it starts to pop out of the head, then I'm going to take a little bit off. That's how I always measure to see if it's full enough. If I press down it and it's popping out, then I know that it's overstuffed, okay? So now what we can do is we're going to stuff the top, or we're going to tie the top first. So take those two pieces. Tie a knot the best that you can, being careful not to snap it. I want a little more in there. It's all just a game of feeling it out and seeing what you want, okay? And you never tie it off tight until you know for sure if that's how you've wanted it, okay? But this is now adding that little extra that I had taken out before is what I needed. I'm going to tie this there. I'm going to tie a knot. Then I'm going to put one end on my needle. And we're going to go around and we're going to reinforce this closed. I hope I'm like low enough in my I hope my camera's high enough. I'm going to raise it a little bit. Maybe that's a little bit better. Okay. We're going to just keep that other tail out. We're going to go around that top row of stitches, which are very easily seen now because they're spreading out as it's pulling. Okay. Just pick up that top row of stitches just like that and then pull. This is how we're going to close our top. All the way around, then pull on it, and you're going to go around again until it's close. But I'm going to take this and I'm going to tie it again. I can get it almost closed there. Then I'm going to go around one more time and tighten it completely, tie it off in a knot, hide my ends, and I'll see you back. All right, so that closed up beautifully. It's perfect, okay? So now we're gonna go down to where our body is. We're going to, it looks like the head's a little short, but it's not going to once we make our legs. We're going to now form our head. We don't wanna squish it so much so that's too thin. I want it shaped, but I want it to look like a snowman. And when you make your snowman outside, it doesn't have a very narrow neck, does it? Okay, so then I've got that tied off. I'm going to, this one I like to reinforce. So I'm going to put one end back on my needle. Okay, so the rest of that last clip cut off. So I'm just going to tell you, you're going to put that white yarn back on your needle and you're going to go around a second time just to reinforce it. All right, so once we make it around, we're going to tie it one more time. That way, if little hands are playing with it, you've got a double, you've gone around it twice, and so it's going to be sturdier. It's not going to break for you, okay? Tie that off. And again, our body's going to be shorter. In just a second, we're going to knot this off. We're going to hide these two. You're going to go ahead and you're going to put a black piece of yarn on your needle, the one that's hanging from the end of your project, okay? Go ahead and put that on your needle. A small, sharper needle like this one that I'm using right now is better than a bigger one that has a more rounder end to it because you want the sharpness of it. Cut that off right like that. And we are going to, I'm going to actually switch to an even smaller one. We're going to now work on our legs. Okay, so you want to find which side you think is the nicest. Okay, that's obviously a side. This can be the back or the front. For mine, it really doesn't matter. They're both, it's looking nice on both sides. So I'm just going to stick with this. You're going to put this upside down. You're going to, and it's hard to see black, so my apologies, but it's coming out of the center there. I'm going to just go across like this and pull it through and then go across again. And then where I came out before is here. I'm going to go down about a stitch or two and then go across. And I'm going to do that, oops. And then I'm going to pull and then I'm going to go across that center again. It's even hard for me to see the black and I'm right beside it. Okay, and then come through, pull, go over again, And I'm going to go right into where the color change is, staying on that middle row. Okay, then I'm going to cross it over again. I'm going to go back into that point there. I'm going to come up the middle, somewhere in the middle. Okay, I'm going to pull. You see how that's forming the leg so far, but it's not enough. We need to switch to white though, because I don't want to use black where I have white. So I've got that pulled out of the center there. I'm going to now just pick up a couple strands of yarn and knot it off. Do that one more time. Okay, then go ahead and hide that into your piece, just like that. Cut this off. Now go ahead and put a white piece of yarn on that same needle, or one that's longer. Actually, for this piece it's wider. You're gonna need the longer one. It'll work better. Grab yourself some yarn, a fairly lengthy one, and we are going to come from the seam right where the color changes. We're going to come up to the center of the color change on this other side right here, just like that. Pull it through, leaving yourself a tail for tying off and hiding. Okay, then we're going to just do the same thing. We're going to follow that straight up. That's where let your eye follow a straight line. Don't go over to the side. Okay, we're going to just go up 3 stitches or so, and then come out the back in the center about 3 stitches up. Okay, the back or the front, whichever it is for you. Then we're going to go back into where we came out there at the bottom, at the base, and up again at the base on this side, just so that we can get a good starting point. Pull on that, not too hard that it pulls through the tail, just like that. Now we're going to go up about 3 stitches, 3 or 4 even. 1, 2, 3. And then straight through the body to the back. Pull it out. This is where the first stitch ends. Going to go into there and come up at the front. We're going to go back and forth like that till we go up about 10 stitches. Okay, so I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe not quite 10. We'll eyeball it as we go. Okay, bring it out the back. Go back down, because I'm going back down and duplicating the stitch so that I can reinforce it. So essentially every stitch that you have has 2 layers. Pull up, then I'm going to go back up 1, 2, 3, and straight through, and I'm looking in the back, and that's about 3 stitches too, so that's perfect. Okay, then I'm going to pull on that. I'm going to assess the situation. I think that that's perfect. Okay, I don't want to go up any further. So we went up 9 stitches. So now I'm going to go back down, come out on that same line, pull it tight, go down to where the color change is, out where the color change is. Cut this off so it's not so hard to work with. I'm going to tie a knot. And we're going to hide our tails. Go ahead and do that, and I'll see you back. All right, friends, so now what you're going to want to do is put some black yarn on your needle, and we're going to go around our boots here, okay? So we're going to stick our needle in through one side and come out where the other side is, okay? Don't pull it all the way through, leave a tail for sewing. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go along the seam, the color change here, okay? So we're going to go over 1 row of stitches and under 1 row. Over 1 row, under 1 row, just like this. Over, right along the color change, over, under, going through all the layers of fabric that you can, or of yarn that you can, and you can pick up some of the fiber fill underneath there too. It doesn't really matter, as long as you're getting underneath all the layers. over, under, over, under. Get that tail out of the way, over, under. And then I'm just gonna, I only have half a stitch here, but I'm gonna just pick it up just so that I can get close to this yarn tail. Then what we're gonna do is we're going to tie it off. See how we just pulled it in just like that? Tied it off. That, I'll tell you why in 1 second. Let me just tie this into a knot. Come on, thumb, get out of there. Finger, get out of there. Just like that. Because then what it does is it shapes our foot, but it makes this look more like the big snowball that you've put there, right? So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to just trail this across to the other side. Go far into that corner as you can, into that point as you can. Pick up one row. The first one is hard because you're getting way in there. And then you go over a stitch, over a row, over, under, all the way around. Bring it back up and tie it off with this and hide your ends, okay? So you go ahead and do that. Very simply done, just like this. I'll save the camera time. You're going to pull it so it's as tight as this one, and then you're going to tie it off, hide your ends, and I will see you back. All right, so pulling this one tight, cutting this off so it's not quite so long, it's easier to work with. Tying my knot, hiding my ends. Remember, when you hide your ends, always hide into the same color as the yarn that you're hiding. Okay, so I'm not going to go up into the white, I'm going to go down into the black. And there you go. Okay, now we're going to grab our 22 needle machine. Does not matter what brand it is, if it's your Addy or your Central. Go ahead and grab that. Then grab your white yarn and your waste yarn in a contrasting color. We're going to make the arms now. I have black close to me, so I'm just going to use that for my waste yarn. You're going to bring your last white and your first black needle in line with your yarn guide. And you're going to cast on behind that first black, in front, behind and in front, all the way around. Okay. And into that yarn guide. Once you get it in front of that last white, you put it between the first black and the last white into your yarn feeder, and we're going to knit 7 rows of waste yarn. I'm unraveling something as I do this. And 7. Okay, then before I get to the end, I'm going to set my counter to 0. I'm going to cut this yarn. I'm going to grab my white yarn. First, I'm going to take that out of the yarn feeder. Oops, got to make it to the last white one, just like that. Take it out of the yarn feeder, put it between the last white and the first black. I'm going to insert my white. I'm going to hold both of those yarn tails, knit 3 or 4 needles, and you see how loopy it is here. You always want to make sure that your beginning stitches are always nice and tight with your tension just as much as it is around. So that's why I always pull on both of these, and I fix my tension on the first few needles before I continue on. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to knit until you get 24 rows. Okay. When you get to 24 rows, I will see you back. All right, made it to 24 rows. You're going to cut off a tail that's long enough to go around your barrel 1.5 to 2 times. Open that latch, put your yarn in between the last white, the first black. We still need to finish off this needle, so you have to make sure that that's where you put it, okay? And then we're going to thread our needle. I'm going to try to squeeze through this little space here. We're going to cast off. So turn your handle. Let's take off that first stitch. And as soon as you turn your handle and that needle drops down, then these stitches become what we call live. You're able to take them off. Oops, around the handle. And that's what we want to do. So now that I've got some slack on here, I can do more. So I'll take one off, hold it with my thumb on the needle, just like that, and go around. We're going to remove all of our stitches. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to make a second one exactly the same way. Cast on with waste yarn, then knit 24 rows of your white, and then take it off like this with our cast off, and then I'll see you back. Okay, so once we have our arms made, we're going to go ahead and finish them off. So I'm just going to grab one here. We're going to close that top. We're going to put our little needle on. This is the medium-sized one. I probably should grab the little one, but that's okay. And we're going to just go around and reinforce this end. Just around the top row of stitches. Just like that. Okay. We're going to find our edge here. So this is where our edge is, where these stitches are coming out. We're going to fold it so that they're on the very side. Okay. And then I'm going to bring this over to the side, just like this. And tie it off. And if we have to relocate it after, we will, but we're just going to leave it on the side there. Now we're going to go ahead and take our stitch markers. For me, it's always bobby pins. Where you see your black or your waste yarn coming out, it's underneath this stitch right there. I'm going to put a stitch marker. That's my first one. Then to the left of it, you will see your working yarn. And where that working yarn is, right beside the loop that's right beside it, that's your last stitch. Put your stitch marker there. We know we have 22 stitches. So we need to find the very side here. So we're going to find stitch 11 and 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm going to put my hook underneath 12, just like that. Count that as number 1. Then I'm going to go up to 11. This is the second stitch. Put it through the loop on my hook. Go down below here, pick up a stitch, put it through the loop on my hook. Go up to the top row, grab the next one, put it through the loop on my hook, down to the bottom row, loop on my hook, up to the top one, always grabbing the next loop that's available. And you should really be counting to make sure that you worked all 22, counting the first one that you put on your hook, which was that number 12. You're going to go back and forth just like this until you count to 22. Then you know you've got every row, nothing is going to unravel. Okay, so then where your stitch marker here on the bottom will always be 21. Then you can take that out. Stitch marker here will always be 22. You can work that. Then you yarn over with your tail, pull it through the loop, and pull. Okay, now we're going to remove our waste yarn, and because this was at the beginning of our project, it's harder. So you're going to roll it up till you get to that very top row, and you know if you can rock that yarn through that little loop at the top there, you know it's the top. So pinch the stitch and pull out that top strand. Go down a number of stitches, do the same thing, pull it all the way up, pinch that stitch and pull that top row. Pinch the stitch, pull the top row. And one more. And then you can just easily pull this off. Okay? I usually wind it as I go, but this is going straight to the garbage because I've used it a few times, so I didn't bother doing that. Now we've got our beautiful piece just like this, okay? So what we're going to do is we are going to mattress stitch up the side. So we close this off. Now I wanted this to be on the side. If it's not, once you flatten this out and you have your piece completely flat like that, then you can figure out where your side is and move it over accordingly. But I'm going to pick up this one stitch on this side and pick up this stitch over on this side just so I can close that off completely. Just like that. I'm going to tie a knot. Just to give it some extra security, some stability. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to just fold this over so we have our row where the wide part of the stitch, the V part, is going to the left. Okay, and then you're going to go over to this side and you're going to do the same thing. Okay, so it's naturally where the point is on there, but I'm going to just rotate it half a row so that I have the wide part of the V there and the wide part of the V on this side. Both of them are going to the left. The wide part of that stitch is going to the left, okay? Makes it easier to do your mattress stitch. Then I'm going to just come in here, gonna pick up 2 bars, pull my yarn through, Go over to this side. I'm going to just start somewhere. So this is my row. I'm following it down to here. I'm going to just pick up 2 bars. Okay, so here's the stitch that I came out of. I'm going to go into that stitch, pick up 2. So 1, 2. Into that stitch, 1, 2. Into the stitch where I'm coming out, 1, or where I came out is here, 1, 2. And over here, 1, 2. Give that a little turn so I stay on that same row. And I'm going to follow that pattern all the way up, but I'm going to stop and tighten it in 1 second. Maybe I'll do one more set. Just like that, okay? Then you're going to pinch the end here and pull on this tail. See how that closed that up beautifully? Okay, you're going to continue on all the way up. Finding your row that you're working. I can go all the way to the top now before I have to pull it, and it'll be no problem. Okay, so work all the way up to the top, and I'll see you back when you're done. Okay, so I'm going to pinch where I left off down there and pull. And see, if I pull too much, see how that gathers this and it makes it all wonky? You don't want to pull that tight. So then pull in the opposite direction to straighten it out again and continue on your merry way. I just have one more stitch to pick up here to get me up to the top, and one more on this side. Just like that, okay? Pull that. Then I'm going to go over to this side and back into this side and knot it off. Just like that, okay? This tail can get tucked in there because we're going to stuff this little arm, okay? Don't need that one. So grab your fiber fill, and we are going to stuff our arm. It's hard to get it in there because it's narrow, but use a couple of fingers and shove it in there and it'll go. Okay. I already stuffed one, so I want to make sure that they're exactly the same. So you want it firm, but you don't want your stitches pulling so far apart like this that they're looking terrible. You just never want that, okay? You want it firm, but you want your stitches to still look even. Put that in there. I'm going to grab the other one that I sewed on already and just measure to see if I think they're the same. I think this one's got more in it, so I'm going to take some out and then play with that a little bit. Now check it again. Yep, that's about good. So now that I have that even, we're going to then close up our end. So all you're going to do is you're going to pick up the top row there and the top stitch there. Don't go too far down, just pick up that very top stitch and close it off. Just like that. Tie a knot. Now I always bring this to the middle of my piece. So there's the middle. And I'm going to tie a knot there, because that's where I'm going to begin, okay? And then you're going to take your piece. I'm going to move my camera up 1 second. And you're going to line it up with the middle here. So because I have this situated in the middle of my arm, all I got to do is find the middle here, go up, pick up a stitch. That's in the middle. Pull it through, and this is automatically centered, okay? And then, but I just want to make sure that if my seam is on this side, that it's on this side here, so that this becomes my front, okay? So you want your seam, you pick which is your front. If that's my front, then if I know that's my seam, even though you can't really tell, I'm going to turn it so that it's like that, okay? And then you're going to just sew it on. So I've got it pulled up into the center there. I'm going to then go to either side, doesn't matter, starting this side. Then pull my head up a little bit, go right next to that other stitch, grab a piece, pull it all through, come back down here, grab the arm, pull it tight, come back down into the neck, and you go really close to each other with the stitches in the neck, okay? And you pull that up. And then what I like to do is I like to go down to the side of the arm here, to the very first stitch that's on the side there. I don't just go to the corner here, I go down to the side. And the reason I do that is because then when I go back into the stitch here, and I'll go this other direction, and I pull it, it rounds off my shoulder there, like the arm, and I don't have a point that's showing. And I do that, oops, and I do that on the other side as well. So now that I've got this one coming, I'm going to go into this arm, pick up a piece, okay, then into the head right close to where I started, pick up a little piece, then pull it together. Then I'm going to go back down into the arm, okay, just like that. Then the neck. You only need 2 on either side of the center before you go down to the side of the arm. So here I'm just picking up a stitch down the side, the very first stitch that's on the side. And then I'm going to go in this way, the opposite way, into the middle, so that when I pull on it, that corner is tucked inside of there and I don't have a sharp edge, okay? Then I'm going to take this, put it back in the middle because there's one there, you assess it. I don't like this piece right here, so I'm going to go back down. I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to take it back down. It's not going to be seen anyways because there's a scarf, but if the scarf ever came off, then you want it to look great, hey? So there you go. You've got your arms, and if they're in the right place, then you can go ahead, tie a knot off, and hide your ends. I always leave both until I have both arms on so that I can make sure that I like the positioning. This is the back because they're closer to the front. So, yeah, that's the front. Okay, so if I like that positioning, then I can go ahead and tie off and hide my ends, which is exactly what I'm going to do right now. You go ahead and do that, and I'll see you back. All right, friends, so it's time for your 22 needle machine. And I found this beautiful, beautiful yarn in my drawer. I don't know what it is. It's like a fuzzy navy. It's got like a white and a light blue fleck in it. I wish I could tell you. I'm sorry. I have no idea. It had no jacket on it. And I didn't even know I had it. So I was searching, what can I use for a scarf? And lo and behold, I found this. So this is what I'm using. You use your favorite yarn and we'll go from there. So we're going to cast on behind that first black, in front of the next, behind and in front, all the way around. Just like so. I'm going to lift up that latch. I'm going to put it in this bigger hole here because it works better when you do that with wider yarn or thicker yarn. Set my row counter to 0, which I really don't have to because we are just going to, this is one, let me just get through this first one. We're going to knit 15 rows. If you don't have a flecky full yarn like this, then you might want to do a few more rows. Oh! So you got to be very careful with yarn like this. Okay, so you got to go the speed that your machine wants you to go and the tension that your machine wants you to go. So I got to baby this one. This is 12, 13, 14, 15. Maybe this is why this yarn was in the back of my drawer. It's not the greatest for our machines. Let me see if I really... Is that a hole or is it just that it's loose? Where is that? No, I think it's fine actually. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off a long tail. I'm going to open that latch, make sure it's between the last white and the first black, and we're going to cast off just like what we've normally been doing. So I'm not going to stay on the camera with you, but go ahead, thread your needle. Because this is probably going to be, you know, something that requires patience from me. Generally, I'm okay with that, but we'll see. We'll see. And we're going to remove our stitches, okay? So go ahead, remove all the stitches off your machine. And when you are done, I'll see you back. All right, so my piece is off the machine. I'm gonna give it a good stretch, okay? And we've got our 2 openings that are like that. I'm gonna find my little guy here. I'm going to stretch this over his head, just like that. Just like so. Which was my front and which is my back? This is the back, so I want my tie to be in the back, which really doesn't matter with this piece, but let's just do it. Just because we need to do it right. Okay? And we have our piece laying just like that. And then you tie this, you pull this as tight as you need it to be to fit his body. But you know what? This one is already tight enough. I don't need to make it any tighter. So all I'm going to do is cut these a little bit shorter. I'm going to feed one down to the other, tie them off, and hide them. Oh, this is so pretty. Not fun to work with though, so I'm hoping that you found yarn that works well with you. So I gotta find a bigger, thicker needle because I can't get this in there. But you see what I'm doing. I'm just threading my needle. I'm going to bring that down, and I'm picking up some of the white as I go down so that it stays in place. So I grabbed some of the Snowman. I'm going to pull this through, tie it to this one. Then I'm going to put both of these back on the needle, hide them in my work, and I'll see you back. It is now time to make our cute little mittens. So we're going to take the same yarn that I used for my scarf. So whatever you use for your scarf, that's what you're going to do. We're going to bring our last white and our first black in line with our yarn guide, and we're going to cast on. Just like we've been doing all along. Okay, in front of that last white, into your yarn feeder, set your row counter. And this first one, make sure it goes down over those 2 red teeth. We are going to knit 16 rows. And I'm going to make sure that there's lots of slack coming out of the ball. Okay. And we're going to just go the speed that the machine wants you to go, that the yarn wants you to, requires you to do. And the tension, I hardly have any tension on it. Okay. You're going to knit 16 rows. And when you get that 16 rows done, you're going to cut off a tail that's long enough to go around your machine 1.5 to 2 times. And you're going to cast off just like what we've been doing for all the other pieces, okay? So go ahead and make 2 mittens, casting on, doing 16 rows, casting off. And I'll see you back. All right, so I've made my second mitten here, but I've learned from the first one that this is very hard to tighten the drawstring after you get it off the machine. So if you have yarn that's difficult like that, I'll show you what you can do. You can put acrylic yarn on your needle. Make sure that that's between the last white and first black. Then you're going to cast off onto the acrylic yarn. Then you can use the same color, but for this project you can't see it when I'm done. So I'm just using the white because that's what I had close. And we're just going to cast off this way. And so then I'll have a yarn tail that's easy to pull closed. Now the beginning is a little bit different. I'll have to struggle with that one a little bit, but 1 out of 2 is not bad. And actually the beginning one on my first mitten wasn't hard. It was the end here that was hard to pull through. But we're going to cast off just like this. You've made 2 of these mittens. And now we're going to assemble it together, and I'll show you how you attach it, and then we'll go to our last piece on the machines, which we're going to use our 48 needle for or our 46 needle for, and that is for the beanie. But let's assemble our mittens first and attach them, and then we'll move on from there. All right, so for the mitten, we're going to do our piece just like we would do a beanie. It's hard because it's only 16 rows, but now that we've got this easy one here, we're going to just tie it off. There you go. See how easily that's cinched? Just like that. stretch out our piece like we normally do. And let's, this is the side that I want to be the right side. So let's pull this one and make sure that, or hope that it comes through. But what I'm going to do first is bring these tails in through the other side, just like we would a beanie. I'm having such trouble with my yarn ends today. Like, I don't know what the problem is. I never, if you watch any of my videos, I never have this trouble. So I don't know what it is, but anyways, we just get through it. So I'm going to bring that through to this end, just like that. I'm going to bring it through because you're going to have this in half, just like you do your beanies. This one we will tie. Actually, that was our loose one that we didn't use. So let's just secure that so that we don't have any unraveling happening. I can cut that off. I'm going to bring this through just like that. Then I'm going to try to pull this one. Oh, this one, see? This one is cooperating. So we pulled that tight. Then we pull this one through. Then we've got like our beanie, except for it's like a flat circle, okay? But we're going to draw string around the top there and make it into a mitten. But before we do that, we're going to then take these two, tie them tight. Okay. See if we can get these on without fighting with them. Actually, I'm going to take these up. I'm not going to hide them. I'm going to take them up to the side here because I'm going to use them for my drawstring. Okay, this is the one I'm going to hide. This one's tied off already, so I'm just going to cut it. But from here, what we're going to do is we're just going to tie a little knot here just to secure these two. Then we're going to go around the outside perimeter, just like what we've done on our other piece, to close up our snowman. And we're going to have a gathered section here, okay? So continue going around the edge just like this, going in and out, so that you can make a drawstring closure. We're not going to close it tight. And you can see I'm not really paying attention to how I'm spacing it either. I just want to be able to get it around. And there's my beginning right there, okay? It's not quite as long as I would like it to be, but it's long enough. It'll do the job, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our snowman. We're going to take this little piece. Once it's all stretched out nice, we're going to fit it over top of his hand just like that. Now, you might be thinking, why didn't I just use color change? And I'll tell you why. I like dimension. I like to be able to see that there's an extra piece on there. And it's not just a color change. So you pull that on just like that, as far up as you can get it. So it's nice and straight. Then you're going to you're going to tighten that. You're going to put your needle back on here, but because it's so short, I'm just going to grab another one and then I'll tie it off with it at the end. And we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to put that one in where that other one's coming out. Leave a tail. Then with my needle, I'm going to pull this up as I go around, just to position it a little bit better. Then I'm going to just go in, grab my snowman arm, and pull it out, making sure I leave that tail to tie off, okay? Then I'm going to just go over, come under, going through all the layers that I can, moving it around, taking my needle and pulling this up because that little edge that was that we just put that white yarn around is making it curl in a bit. Okay, and we're going to just go around all the way around his arm, just like this. Okay, and secure it. So cute. So pulling that up so it's even. just like that. Then I'm going to pull the two. See how beautiful that is? We're going to create the thumb in just a second. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tie these all off. Then I'm going to hide them. And I will see you back. Easy peasy. All right, so for the thumb, I'm going to take the same yarn, put it on a thread. Now I have, or on a needle, I have my thumb on this side, so I got to make sure that I have the right side facing for this next thumb so that I don't have one on the back and one on the front. So I'm going to just put my yarn needle into my piece about a ½ an inch up from the base there, wherever you want the end of your thumb to be. Okay, then for this first one, I just go under there. I just pick up a little stitch there. And then I come back down where I went out here. And then I'm going to just keep going around. This is over top of where I started, just like that, see? And this is 2, coming out in the same spot there. And 1 more. I'm pulling quite tight, actually. And 3. Coming out there. Okay, now I've got my second thumb. I'm going to just take this over the top there, into the back where that other yarn tail is. I'm going to tie a knot, hide my ends, I'll hide the other one there too, and then we've got our 2 mitts. Aren't they just precious? I love them. Okay, so grab your central or your Addy 46, whichever you used. Grab your yarn of choice, and we're going to make the beanie. Of course, I'm going to make the beanie the same color as the mitts and the scarf. So I'm going to fight with it a little bit, but that's okay. I don't mind because this guy is so precious. Love him. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. All right, friends, the last part we're going to make is our beanie. And I'm using my 48 needle machine. And if you used your 46 needle machine for your project, then you can use that. Or you could even use your 40 needle, that would be fine. But I want this to have some slouchiness to it. So with this yarn, only needed to knit 30 rows, okay? Because of the way I'm going to put it on. If you're using worsted weight 4-weight yarn, then do 60 rows, and we'll double it like we do a normal beanie. Okay, and as soon as I get this off the machine, I will show you that. But I'm only doing 30 rows with this thicker yarn because I don't need it to be doubled. I just need it to be a single layer with this thickness. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some white yarn, acrylic yarn to my needle, just like I did in that other piece with the mitten. And I'm going to cast off my machine just by taking 1 stitch at a time, like we've been doing all along. But because this yarn doesn't cooperate very well, I'm going to go ahead and use my worsted weight again to remove it. Okay, so your tail will go between the last pink and the first white, or the last needle that you're knitting and the first one that you knit, and then you will cast off like normal. Okay, I don't think I need to show you that again because we've done it several times already. So go ahead, remove your project from your machine, and I'll see you back. So I've got my beanie off the machine. It looks like a little skirt. But I'm going to pull this tight up here. Okay, this one side. This looks huge, but it's going to be perfect. I should actually do this side first because then I can use this to sew onto my project. So I'm going to grab this other end and pray that this will cinch. Gotta go slow. If not, I'll add a white one. This yarn, was a beast to work with, as you know. But you know what? It was still worth it because it's so beautiful. I don't want this one to be tightly closed at the top there. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close this one. Maybe I need to pull this in the middle here. Now, if you've doubled it, you know you're going to close one end. And then you're going to close the other, and you're going to bring them together inside each other, and then you'll have a double layer beanie, right? But for me, because I'm only doing a single layer, let me see if I can pull that through. Ah, thank you. Thank you for cooperating. Okay, I can pull that through just like that. I'm going to cut this off a little bit shorter. Now, okay, so if this was a double layer, this would be much longer. So then you would pull this side tight, then you're going to put this end on your needle, put it through and bring the end out, and then you're going to bring this end through, tighten this one around it, and this is the brim of your beanie. Just like what we've done before. The same way that we did the body of our snowman, actually. Okay? Got all these little fuzzies hanging all over the place now. So what we're going to do is I'm going to fasten off this end, get it nice and tight, and I might have to put some acrylic yarn on my needle, but I'm going to try this first because this cinched up so nicely. I don't even need it any tighter than that. I'm just going to tie it off actually and be done with it because I have a pom-pom that I'm going to put on. So I'm going to tie that just a little bit tighter. I don't want to press my luck, so I'm going to just tie this off. Okay? Don't wreck a good thing. Okay? And then I'm going to put this into that little hole, just like that. And I'm going to take my pom-pom. I'm going to cut this shorter too. Now, I have a video on how to make a pom-pom on a clover pom-pom maker. If you have the clover pom-pom makers and you don't know how to use them, or you don't get a tight tie on yours, then go watch my video on that. But isn't that a gorgeous pom-pom from this yarn? Like, I love it. So if you know the name of this yarn, please link it in my comments because I really like to know what it is. But this is the clover maker that I use. The number on the back is 65, and I have a set of 4, and it's the 3rd largest, okay? There's one that's bigger. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my yarn tails on there. I'm going to pop that down in through the hole. And I'm going to tie it off with that yarn tail that I had right there, okay? Then, from there, I'm going to take my little snowman. I'm going to put this little hat on. It looks absolutely huge, but it's going to because I want it to be slouchy in the back. And then I'm going to take this yarn tail, and I'm literally going to tie a knot so I can snug it up onto the head. It's like a, how do you say that word, beret? That's what this is. I didn't want a normal beanie. I just wanted something a little bit different. I'm going to just tie that on there, just like that. I'm going to hide this. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this other long tail, and I'm going to carefully sew this on. So when I say carefully, I mean carefully. So I'm going to hide that, get it out of my way. Okay, like, look at that. It's just so dang cute. That's what I wanted. I want it to be like a slouchy beret. And then, I think that's the word. Correct me on that one too, if you can. But I'm going to now take this yarn tail, and I'm going to very carefully just pick up a piece of the head and go through like that and sew around. So right close to the brim, I'm going to pick it up and sew it around. Go under, over. And so I'm going to have a nice little loopy edge there because I'm going to go right close to each other. You're not going to see that white yarn that I have because I'm going over top of it. And I'm going to simply do this all the way around. If I have to add a piece, I will. Okay? So position your hat the way you want it. So mine, you'll see it's going down here. That's exactly what I want. Get that all nicely sewn on. I went a little too far there. Nicely sewn on. And when it's all attached, come back and see me and we'll do the face and we'll be done All right, friends, so once we have that all on, isn't it like just so cute? Once you have it on, and I would say put your beanie on first because then you can judge where your eyes go. I've got these ones that I got on Amazon that are buttons. They're called mushroom button eyes, okay? And I'm going to use them. I think that these ones are probably a 10 millimeter, but I can't be 100% because they came in a little flower like this, and I don't know what the sizes are. So you use what looks good to you. I'm going to just take my needle and my thread, literally is what I'm going to use. I'm going to get it in there, nice and secure. Then I'm going to sew my eye on. Okay? Is that in the right place? Let me see. No, I think it needs to go over. So that's basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to just thread it back and forth and sew it on just like that. And then I'm going to I'm going to put them both on where I want them. Then I'm going to get my yarn that I want for my nose. And we're going to use black yarn for the mouth. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use, you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to sew them on so they're nice and tight to the body. And when I'm done that, I'll come back and I'll see you. Okay, friends? All right, friends. So there we have it. And I added 3 little buttons here, so I really like that too. But I'm going to go ahead and take this orange. It's a bright orange. It's Craftsmart yarn, actually. I'm going to come up through the side of the head. I'm going to come up just shy of center, a little off to the left. And if you know me, I always take way too much yarn. It's just a habit. I don't know why. I guess I just don't want to run out, but in doing so, I get it all tangled in my hand here. So I'm going to have that come through. Okay, just like that. I'm actually going to take this through and go a little bit up, farther up to there, okay? So there we go. That little orange will be covered. So this is where my eyes are, so it's just below center of this eye, but little off. This would be center face. So I'm just half a stitch off, okay? Then I'm going to come down. I'm just figuring this out as I go along, okay? To this point here. Okay? So you can see what I'm doing just by those couple of stitches. Back up to here. Then back down to the point, going underneath the stuffing. Just like so. I'm going to put a little bead of glue on those eyes to hold them down just a little bit further. Okay, and then up to there. Back down to the point. Now, when I'm making my faces, and I mention this every time I do a nose of any sort, I do not like to see the outline here, okay? This one up here. So I don't go underneath it, I go above it. I let that be my guide, but I go above it, okay? And over here, then I come down to the point. And I put my thumb where I want it to go, so the thumb guides it just like that. And all these lines are going to be straight, right beside each other. They're not going to be crisscrossed and all funny. They're just going to go right next to each other. So I'm going to go into there again, come out the point. Sometimes I have to lower my point if it starts to get too wide. Then it doesn't look pointy, and you have to just lower it a little bit as you go. So I'm going to put my finger there, let that just slide over the nail, and it will all line up just like that. Go to the next space, and this is where a smaller pointy needle helps. Okay, come out there, put my thumb or my fingernail underneath there so that slides over, and see how beautifully that's falling into place. Once I get this general outline, I can make it wider if I like. If I think it's too narrow, I just go ahead on both sides and I make it wider. Okay, so I'm going to just get it up there. It's hard with my left hand. And we're going to give this guy a little bit of a boot cuff too. As you design and as you do stuff, things come to your mind. Well, at least they do mine. And a fine detail that I'm going to do is add to to the leg, and that's not going to take much. It's going to take one piece of yarn, 2 pieces of the blue, and you'll see what we do. I'm going to finish this off. We're going to do grab our black and do our mouth. So I'm going to finish doing that, and I'm going to lower my point just a little bit because it's getting too squared off, and then I'll come back and see you, okay? All right, so I think I'm pretty much done. I'm going to put my needle in there and just straighten out that nose a little bit if I can, just like that. But I have a little crooked stitch in there that I don't like. So I also lowered the point a little bit, and I'm gonna go back over that stitch just so I can hide it. And in and out where I started. Okay, just like that. Grab your needle. I wanna guide this over that little wonky stitch. And there you have it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie this off in a knot. Cut it off so it's easier to work with. Folks, thanks for persevering. This has been a long video. I feel like it's long. I've been working on it for a long time, a lot longer than it's probably taking you to make this, because that's what happens when you're editing and making clips and redoing clips, etc. So I feel like I've been at this for a very, very long time. But the next one I make, when it's off camera, is going to be very, very fast. So I'm happy to do that. Now, looking more like a snowman. And again, I'm going to use my glue gun on there. You can squeeze that nose to point a little bit better. Let's grab our black for our mouth. All right, so I have my black yarn for the mouth. I just have a little piece because I plan on making a small mouth. And I'm just going to come in here. Actually, I need to have that a little bit more out on the side there. I'm going to come in here and just go up to about there. And one more time. Then I'm going to just go up here and across. Just like that. I gotta hold it up with my hat. Yeah, I like that. Look, he looks a little cheeky. Okay. When the hat's hanging, it looks big enough, okay? I'm gonna just double that over, and I'm gonna go from there, I'm gonna go out. I visualized a small mouth, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. It just looks a little cheeky. Just like that. Little simple little grin. Gonna tie a knot. And then I'm gonna hide those ends. All right. So there you have it. One more thing I want to do is I think I need to bring the blue down. So I'm going to go through that middle section there, up through the front section, just like that. And I'm just going to wrap this around. Wrap that around. Go back down. Very, very simple. Out the front. Wrap it around. And repeat that process once, okay? So I'm gonna go over top. I'm gonna now go over top of what I did so that we have a double strand. Up through the center. Got to make sure that that looks like it's actually in the center. Then I'm going to go around this one, just like this. Pick up a stitch. You have to pick up a stitch so that you can have the end in the right place for sewing or for tying, okay? Then we're going to give that a little tie. I'm going to hide the ends, and I'll see you back. There we go. Just looks like there's a little boot cuff on there that matches the mitts and the toque and the scarf. And I think it finishes it off and brings the color down and makes it uniform. So there we go, my friends. the camera's too low for you to see the whole thing, but I'm going to do a photo shoot now with him, and you're going to see him in 1 second. What a little cutie. And I know exactly who's going to love this little guy. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thanks again for joining me, my friends. Please, please show me your project in my Facebook group, Koala Knits and Knacks. The link will be in the description below. Thanks again for joining me. Take care, my friends, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.